Okay, now we're going to talk for a minute about closing down a business and winding up its affairs. Let's say that either the business has not been successful and it is failing, or that you're just tired of running it and you want to quit and you can't find a buyer for it, so you decided to close the doors. You're probably going to have a significant amount of unpaid debt at the end. You may even owe money for back taxes. And so the first thing that I want to remind you of is that if it is a partnership, each one of the general partners is liable for 100% of the debt of the business. So if your partner files a personal bankruptcy and is out of the picture and doesn't contribute anything further to paying off the debts of the business, you're on the hook for 100% of that amount, and it may end up forcing you into a bankruptcy as well. So be careful about who you choose for partners and how the business venture, the partnership, incurs debt and spends money, because it can always come back to bite you. Now, with regard to throwing up the white flag, closing the doors, and surrendering, if you're just completely overwhelmed and you don't want to deal with it, then the best thing may be just to file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and let the bankruptcy trustee take charge of the assets that the business owns and sell those and distribute that money to the creditors. But here's the thing. If you still owe some money, especially if you still owe money to the tax man, if you control as much of the liquidation as you can for as long as you can before you're forced to file a bankruptcy, you will get much more money for the liquidation of the assets than the bankruptcy trustee will get. Because let's face it, when the trustee takes assets from a failed business and puts them up for sale, he sells them at fire sale prices. Anybody who buys assets from a bankruptcy trustee is expecting to get a bargain price for the assets they buy. And so a bankruptcy trustee doesn't get as much money for those assets as you could get if you sell them yourselves, because you know all the other people that are in your same business and what they need of your equipment and what they don't need and what they're willing to pay for that equipment. So the chances are, if you can sell the equipment, you will get a lot more money for it than if the bankruptcy trustee sells it. And that means that if you owe money to someone like the tax man, a lot more of that tax liability will be paid down if you take that money and you pay it to the tax man than if you just turn everything over to the bankruptcy trustee and let him sell it, plus he charges his admin fee on top of that. So, and then of course the other message is, almost all, if not all, of your debts other than the tax debt are dischargeable in a bankruptcy. You file the bankruptcy and the debt will just be discharged, except for taxes. Claims of government entities, back taxes owed, are usually not dischargeable in a bankruptcy. And so if you have any money left at all when you're closing out a business, pay off the tax man first. Always, always, always pay off the tax man before you pay off anybody else, and then wind down your affairs. Of course, you know, if you're trying to avoid a bankruptcy and you're getting a decent amount of money out of the liquidation of your business assets, you don't have to pay everybody 100%. You may be able, if you only have enough money left, to pay everybody 50 cents on the dollar. If you contact them and you say, look, this is the best I can do, I'll give you 50 cents on the dollar of what I owe you if you'll release me from the balance of the debt, so that you're not forced to sue me and I'm not forced to file a bankruptcy, in which case you may get nothing. A lot of creditors will be grumpy about that, but sometimes they'll make a smart business decision and they'll take that, and sometimes you can avoid being forced into a bankruptcy, which may not be a good thing for you because of other personal assets that may be involved, or your credit reputation for future business ventures. So you might want to consider trying to control the liquidation. In terms of talking about bankruptcy, if your business fails, Chapter 7 is the way to go. If you have a very large business, you can try the Chapter 11 business reorganization that we discussed briefly earlier in the class. But remember, Chapter 11s are so expensive and so complex, they usually only work for major corporations that have hundreds of employees. And that's what they were designed for, was to save businesses. save jobs in businesses that have hundreds or thousands of jobs. One of the biggest failings of the bankruptcy system is that it fails to do anything to help small and mid-sized businesses reorganize. But keep an eye on the changing bankruptcy laws, because there has been some recent indication that there may be some new changes coming to the bankruptcy laws with the specific intention of trying to give more help to small and mid-sized businesses. But that's pretty much it on closing a business, winding down its affairs. You've got to do something to take care of those last debts and taxes. And if you can't handle them all and can't negotiate down reduced payments, then you may be looking at bankruptcy relief, which we've already discussed.